Guia de estilo e instruções para síntese de fala. Início das instruções. Você é um narrador, palestrante e autoritário. O tom deve ser firme e inabalável. Este é o início da mensagem. Comece com energia total e um tom de comando, capturando a atenção imediatamente. Something nobody told you about prayer is that it can function like code. Not magic spells, but precise commands that rewrite the circuitry of who you are. If you will learn to pray as you would program, you will stop waiting for life to change and begin to install a new operating system for your heart, your decisions, and your resources. I know how that sounds. I've stood where you are. Awake at 2 a.m., a stack of bills like a small city on my kitchen table, the coffee gone cold, the apartment smelling faintly of detergent and defeat. I thought prayer was pleading and that prosperity was either luck or sin. Then a training from an old reading, Napoleon Hill's insistence on a definiteness of purpose, the way Bob Proctor taught people to program the mind, met a still small invitation in my chest. That collision gave me a method, prayer as programming. It changed how I heard God, how I listened to my thoughts, and how I moved in the world. Before we go deeper, if you're listening and you want the kind of training that keeps working after this session ends, stay until the end, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the daily practices we release. Now, breathe with me. Stop for a moment, place one hand over your heart, and listen to your own voice. We begin by naming the enemy. It will not be the creditor, the boss, or the market. The primary enemy is the old voice inside you, a script of scarcity written by fear, by the judgment of others, by the small things that piled up until they felt like truth. That voice says, "You are not enough. You will lose it if you receive it. Rich people are bad. Faith will fail you. You have been lied to about who you are." I want to tell you 3 things that will anchor everything I teach. God is not ashamed of your prosperity. Prayer is meant to tune you, not to bribe heaven, and change is both spiritual and practical. These are not slogans. They are the framework for a disciplined practice that I call align, reprogram, act. Align. Tune your inner frequency to what God has planted in you. Imagine a radio. For years, you may have been tuned to static. By prayer, you learn to find the station that carries God's voice for your calling. This is not mystical in the cheap sense. It's training your attention to notice possibility. Reprogram. The brain is plastic. The mind accepts the words it hears. If you want a new reality, you must intentionally feed your mind new sentences and new feelings until they become the background music of your life. Act. Faith without works is incomplete. The kind of prayer I teach always calls for movement, small, steady, accountable actions that test and build the new habit. Let me show you what this looks like in the dark and in the kitchen at 3 a.m. when the old voice is loud. You, the protagonist in this story, a person worn by debt, a dream not yet fulfilled, embarrassed to call a friend, exhausted from holding 2 jobs.
Guia de estilo e instruções para síntese de fala. Você é um narrador, palestrante, com voz potente, forte e autoritária. O tom deve ser firme e inabalável. Contexto de continuidade. A frase anterior era "or a potential client, one application, one call". Você está no meio de uma frase ou pensamento. Mantenha o ritmo e a força vocal, sem quebrar a conexão. Haja como se estivesse transmitindo uma verdade fundamental. Contexto de continuidade. He set a small metric, 3 attempts per day, and tracked them. Within 3 months, a client responded to his consistent outreach. The money that followed was not a miraculous rain from nowhere. It was response to a changed posture and sustained action. When I say posture, I mean it in a literal way. Your body carries your identity. Sit taller. Put your hand on your chest when you declare. Say the new sentence slowly. I am the steward of a seed God has placed in me. Feel the cadence. Feel the blow to the old voice. This is not performance. It is bodily re-education. We will practice a declaration together now. It is short, precise, and designed to be repeated. After I say it, you will repeat it aloud 3 times, resting 1 breath between each repetition. Place your hand on your heart. I am aligned with the purpose God placed within me. I will notice and act on the doors that open. Repeat. I am aligned with the purpose God placed within me. I will notice and act on the doors that open. Repeat once more. Pause, breathe, notice any shift. You may feel a small quiet, or you may feel nothing at all, and both responses are normal. The point is not sensation alone. The point is consistency. Let's identify the inner antagonists by name. Call them the old voice and the small judge. The old voice is the composite of stories you've absorbed. Family scarcity, cultural scripts, and those moments when fear cleverly dresses itself as wisdom. The small judge is the quick whisper, "You don't deserve it," or "If you get it, you'll lose yourself." These voices are not spiritual truths, they are habitual circuits. Prayer as programming rewires them. Here's a technique for that rewire. Thought replacement with sensory anchoring. 1. When the old voice appears, label it quietly. Old voice. 2. Immediately breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Place a hand on your chest. 3. Say a short corrective sentence that you have prepared, no more than 7 words. I am inheritor of God's calling. I receive wisdom to steward increase. I will act in faith. Use 1 for now. 4. Follow that sentence with a simple physical action. Fold your hands, step to a window, write 1 line towards solving the issue. This sequence, label, breathe, declare, move, interrupts the neural pattern and gives the new sentence a physical route to travel. Napoleon Hill called it definiteness of purpose. Bob Proctor called it persuasion of the subconscious. I call it faithful practice. A confession. I feared that talking about prosperity would make me greedy. I also feared that not mentioning financial restoration would make me dishonest with the people who needed it most. The balance is humility and stewardship. Prosperity is not an idol, it is a tool. The gospel respects labor and reward. When Joseph rose from a pit to manage nations, he did not stop praying. He cultivated clarity about his purpose and then exercised the talent God had given him. When David faced fear, he learned to rule himself before he ruled the nation. These are patterns of identity more than financial formulas. Now, a short confessional prayer of submission. Say it quietly. Father, I submit my desires to your wisdom. Change me where I need change. Make me a faithful steward. Let my longing for provision be shaped by your character. Amen. We are halfway through a foundational practice called the 3-minute alignment. You will use this twice a day, morning and evening, to set the trajectory of your attention. It's small, precise, and powerful because it is repeated. 3-minute alignment. Minute 1. Breath and body. Sit upright. Close your eyes. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6. Feel your heartbeat under your hand. Minute 2. Name the old voice. Say silently, "Old voice, I know you." Then say your corrective sentence out loud.
I am being formed into a steward of purpose. Minute 3. Commit to one next step. Verbally declare one practical movement you will do today to honor that sentence. A phone call, a page of a plan, a connection. Write that step in a place you will see. This is not just prayer. It's planning with a spiritual engine. I learned to measure success by the faithfulness of repetition, not by the immediate size of results. Let me break down the pillars we will return to many times: identity, ritual, and accountability. Identity. You must change the pronouns in your heart. Move from I can't to I am learning to. Move from God owes me to God has given me a purpose to steward. This is not denial of pain. It's a refusal to let pain write your ending. Ritual. Repetition forms grooves. Small prayers, declarations, breath work done intentionally create grooves that guide behavior. Think of ritual as the scaffolding for a new character. Accountability. Tell someone. Make a public pledge in the comment field below. Yes, I mean that. Your commitment has weight when you name it. Join a small band of 2 or 3 people who will press you when your practice slips. A short, raw exchange I had years ago may help illustrate the necessity of accountability. I told a friend I would do the 3-minute alignments every morning for 30 days. On day 3, I forgot. I told him honestly. He called me the next day and asked, "Did you do it?" My embarrassment made me start again. That call was more spiritual than any lecture I had read. We function best in communion. We must also speak plainly about risk. Doing this work will change how you see money, relationships, and freedom. Some friends will not understand. Some people will accuse you of changing. That is part of the test. Joseph lost favor. David lost sleep. Both were tested before their elevation. These tests are refining, not punishment. Trust the process. Exercise 2. The portal ritual. 5 minutes. This ritual is a symbolic opening of a door, a portal that prepares you to step through when opportunity arrives. Find a quiet place. Light a candle if that helps. Stand facing a closed door or an imaginary threshold. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe slowly. Speak aloud. I open my heart to the opportunities God prepares for my stewardship. Step forward as if you are crossing a threshold. Then stop and say, I will take the faithful step when it appears. Sit and write one practical plan you can start in the next 24 hours toward your declared purpose. This ritual is not superstition. It is a rehearsal. Rehearsal prepares muscles, physical and spiritual, for actual performance. I want to introduce a dangerous but necessary distinction: waiting versus readiness. Waiting tells you to be passive until conditions are perfect. Readiness trains you so that when a door opens, however narrow, you can fit through and steward what comes. Prayer as programming builds readiness. You may ask, but what about prayer for provision? Is it selfish to ask God for money? Let me be direct. It is not selfish to request the means to fulfill your calling. In the scriptures, provision often comes so that a person can serve others better. The spirit of the teaching here is to align desire with stewardship, not acquisition. Your prayers should aim to expand capacity to give, create, and sustain. We will now practice a short declaration with physical anchoring that you can use when bills arrive or anxiety spikes. Place your hand on your chest again. Declaration: I receive wisdom to steward what is given. I will act in faith and clarity. My hands are ready. Say it 3 times slowly. After the 3rd repetition, open your eyes and write one immediate action. One call, one email, one payment plan you will start that day. There is an inner dialogue worth dramatizing because it lives in all of us. Imagine two voices in a small theater inside your mind. The old voice sits in a folding chair, arms crossed, cataloging reasons why things will fail. The new voice stands at a small podium, quiet but firm, holding one paper that reads, "Small, faithful actions." The old voice hurls statistics and memories. The new voice only asks for one small step. Over time, the audience, your habits, begins to stand when the new voice speaks because you have rehearsed giving it attention. That is the transmutation I promised. Let me tell you about a woman named Leela who provides a sharper portrait. Leela grew up in a home where money was a secret shame. As an adult, she feared abundance might bring shame to her family name. When she tried to earn more, she felt guilty and sabotaged her own opportunities. We worked on an identity sentence. I carry blessing from my family. She carried that sentence daily in the morning alignment and the portal ritual. She also set a small business goal, one client per week for 12 weeks. On week 5, a referral came that matched her ideal client profile. She won the contract because she was prepared, not just technically, but emotionally.
Guia de estilo e instruções para síntese de fala. Início das instruções. Você é um narrador palestrante com voz potente, forte e autoritária. O tom deve ser firme e inabalável. Contexto de continuidade. A frase anterior era: repare, não just technically, but emotionally. Você está no meio de uma frase ou pensamento. Mantenha o ritmo e a força vocal sem quebrar a conexão. Haja como se estivesse transmitindo uma verdade fundamental. She could receive the money because she had practiced being the kind of person who could steward it. At this point, you may be wondering about specifics. What do I say? How often? Where do I start? The rest of this teaching will give you a framework and repeated practice. Here is the immediate menu you must commit to for the next 30 days. Daily, 3-minute alignment morning and evening. Daily, one short declaration with hand on chest when anxiety strikes. Weekly, portal ritual on a set day, followed by one measurable action for the week. Accountability. One person you tell your progress to, weekly check-in. Bees are small, but they compound. We will now pause for a focused prayer of commissioning. This is short, in first person, and intimate. Speak it to God from your heart or read it aloud. Father, I present my old stories to you. I ask that you rewrite my interior narrative with truth. Grant me courage to do the small work that prepares me for larger responsibility. Keep my heart humble and my hands busy. Amen. When you finish, open your eyes and write one word that describes how you feel now. Lighter, uneasy, moved, determined, whatever is honest. Place that word where you will see it. A crucial piece of the method is the use of repetition as persuasion. Napoleon Hill taught that the subconscious is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever seeds you plant repeatedly. But seeds need water and sunlight. In a spiritual practice, prayer is watering, ritual is sunlight, action is cultivation. Let's practice a targeted repeating structure I call the 4-line anchor. It is short enough to repeat throughout your day and precise enough to be meaningful. The 4-line anchor. 1. I am called and capable. 2. I will notice the door and walk when it opens. 3. I will steward what I receive with wisdom. 4. I will take one faithful step today. Say these 4 lines slowly, once in the morning, once at midday, once before sleep. Use breath between each line. Each repetition is a small programming loop. Do not minimize the spiritual element. This work is not purely psychological. It is covenantal. When you declare who you are and commit to acts of faith, you are making a covenant with God and with yourself. The promise is not automatic provision. The promise is partnership. God shapes the opportunity and you become a faithful steward of it. There will be pushback. People will tell you success changes people, and sometimes they are right. Pride can infect the heart. That is why every alignment includes asking for humility and wisdom. Ask God to keep you soft where you need to be soft and firm where you must be firm. That petition is both spiritual and practical. A short moment of candid counsel. Do not spend your spiritual capital on quick fixes. Many spiritual practices offer instant-sounding promises for sale. The method I teach is slow enough to be safe and disciplined enough to be effective.
The tests you pass in private will determine the size of the door you can steward in public. We will use one more concrete tool today, the failure factor mapping. This is a sober inventory exercise. Take 15 minutes tonight and list the common ways you self-sabotage: procrastination, people-pleasing, fear of being seen, avoidance of numbers. Next to each, write one corrective habit and one person who can hold you accountable. This turns vague fear into tactical work. Before you begin that inventory, breathe. Place your hand on your chest. Repeat a short directing prayer. Lord, show me where I hide. Give me courage to name it and the discipline to repair it. Amen. When you finish the map, pick the smallest corrective habit and commit to it for 7 days. It might be turning off the phone for 1 hour to write a plan, calling one former employer, or tracking expenses for 3 days. Small corrections edge the system toward integrity. In the coming sections, I will walk you through specific scripts for negotiating a payment plan, approaching a potential client, and reframing fear into curiosity. I will give you sample language that you can adapt, because I have learned that people need words that are both human and precise. But for now, practice the alignment, the declaration, and the portal ritual. Notice the change in your chest. This is the beginning of a new voice, quieter than the old voice, but more durable. When it speaks, it asks only for one faithful step. A closing invitation for this segment: type the sentence you will commit to in the comment field now. It can be the 4-line anchor, a single word, or a promise of one action. Naming it aloud creates gravity. We will continue by exploring the skill of translating small spiritual movements into concrete financial and vocational strategy, how you convert alignment into offers, how you steward early increase, how you maintain humility while scaling. When you are ready, breathe again and keep the practice. The real change comes not from one declaration, but from daily repetition and small, consistent works of faith. We begin with the most practical translation of alignment into an offer you can present in the world. A simple, human script that honors your covenantal posture while protecting your dignity and cash flow. Use these scripts as scaffolding. Say them aloud. Adapt the tone to your voice, then practice them until they feel like prayerful speech, honest, steady, and clear. Negotiating a payment plan. Phone, in-person script. Open with gratitude and clarity. Thank you for trusting me with this work. I'm excited to move forward, and I want to make sure we have an agreement that protects both of us. State the total and the ideal terms. The total for this scope is amount. My preferred terms are 50% upfront and 50% on delivery within 30 days. Mantenha o ritmo e a força vocal sem quebrar a conexão. Haja como se estivesse transmitindo uma verdade fundamental. Guia de estilo e instruções para síntese de fala. Você é um narrador, palestrante com voz potente, forte e autoritária. O tom deve ser firme e inabalável. Contexto de continuação. A frase anterior era Read it aloud until it sounds like you. 5. ênfase. Prosody, speak. Você está no meio de uma frase-pensamento. Mantenha o ritmo e a força vocal sem quebrar a conexão. Haja como se estivesse transmitindo uma verdade fundamental. Finish with the portal ritual. 4 slow breaths, the 4-line anchor, then a short prayer. Lord, make this one step faithful. Amen. A final practical scaffold before we move into roleplay scripts and live templates, the minimum viable offer. Define the smallest thing you can promise that will actually move the client's situation forward. Price it so that it covers your time plus a small margin. If the client loves the MVO, you can upsell a fuller solution. The MVO reduces fear, it's small, creates proof, and builds a pipeline. We will now practice 3 exact repeatable dialogues, one for negotiating a payment plan by phone, one for an initial client approach, and one for reframing fear when the opportunity is riskier than you expected. Speak them, record yourself, and return to them as ritual speech until they become faithful muscle memory. Negotiation by phone. Practiced script. Hello, name. Thank you for taking the time. I'm excited to work on project. The total for this scope is amount. My standard is 50% to start and 50% on delivery. If the upfront is a problem, I offer a 4-installment option with the first payment due to begin. Which of those would work for you? Pause. If they ask to pay less, I can do a smaller scope for reduced amount that focuses on smaller deliverable. That would take days. Or we keep the full scope and use the 4-installment plan. Which is better for your needs now? When they agree, repeat terms, confirm dates, and say, I'll send the short agreement and the payment link in the next 2 hours. Once I receive the first installment, I'll schedule our kickoff. Initial client approach. Practiced script. Hi, name. I'm your name. I work with who to outcome. I noticed specific detail about them. If you have a minute, I'd love to know what's the one obstacle right now that, if removed, would make your week dramatically easier. Listen, echo, and then, if that's the issue, I can get you a focused plan in 7 days that addresses specific outcome for amount. Would it help if I sent a 1-page proposal tonight? Reframing fear when the opportunity is bigger than expected. Okay, this fear is telling me a story. If I try, I could fail. That's a story, not a fact. Let me treat this like a learning experiment. What's the smallest test I can run in the next 72 hours? I will do that. Regardless of result, I will name one truth I learn and one next step. Practice these 3 until they stop feeling like scripts and start feeling like the voice of your covenant. Generous, clear, and practical. When you're ready, we will run through live templates for emails and a fill-in-the-blanks 1-page proposal you can copy and adapt. Breathe. Take one faithful step now. Open a new document and draft your 1-page offer for a single hypothetical client.
That act, naming the promise in a single page, tends to reveal the real constraints and the real courage needed. Live templates, exact copy and paste emails you can adapt. Initial 1-page cold approach, short, curiosity plus offer. Subject, quick idea to make specific metric easier at company. Hi, name. I noticed specific detail, e.g., your weekly newsletter asks for 3 case studies but links to only 1. Your checkout page shows a 25% cart abandonment rate. If that's accurate, the one obstacle I'd remove first is one clear obstacle. If you have 10 minutes, I can send a single-page plan that would reduce that friction and create a testable change in 7 days. It costs MVO price, and I'll include the exact A/B test to run. Would you like that one-pager tonight? Thanks for your time. Your name, one-line credential, phone number. Follow-up after no reply, 48 to 72 hours. Subject, quick idea to make metric easier at company. Hi, name. Just following up on my note. If that specific detail isn't relevant, can you point me to the person who owns area, marketing, operations, product? If it is relevant, but the timing is bad, what would be a better week to circle back? Either way, I'll keep this brief. Respectfully, your name. Send the proposal email after you've drafted the one-page proposal. Subject, one-page plan for company, specific outcome in 7 days. Hi, name. Thanks for agreeing to review this. Attached is a one-page plan that focuses on specific outcome. Highlights, minimum viable offer, 1 sentence of deliverable. Time to deliver, days. Investment, amount, first payment, 50% or plan. Test metric, what will be measured to prove progress? If this looks useful, reply yes, start, and I'll send the short agreement and payment link. If you'd prefer a smaller scope, say smaller scope, and I'll propose 2 reduced options. Warmly, your name. Payment reminder, if polite nudge needed. Subject, quick confirmation, kickoff for project. Hi, name. I'm ready to schedule the kickoff once the first payment processes. I'll hold the current start window until date. If you'd like the 4 installment plan, I can send that now. Shall I send the payment link again? Minus your name. Short post-sale thank you and stewardship note, ritual to send with invoice. Subject, thank you, and a small note. Hi, name. Thank you for trusting me with this work. I've sent the invoice for amount. As a small practice, I send a 1-line thank you at each payment and give 10% of that project to named cause or a cause chosen by clients. It's how I keep this work faithful. Once the payment clears, I'll schedule our kickoff. Looking forward.